amazing. Hello and welcome to the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. It's round 7 of the top 16 Superstars races. Our drivers have been competing online as part of the online series, and they are now here for the top 16 Superstars races for the Nations Cup and the Manufacturers Series, which means they'll get bonus points in the championship standings. It's all to play for, and it could be set to change here today. My name's Tom Brooks, alongside me, Jimmy Broadbent, here to guide you through the action today. Jimmy, I think we're excited for this one, aren't we?
I think so, yeah. I mean, why not? Nations Cup always been throwing up some great racing for us. Of course, we had Group 2s before, something a bit different today. We're very much looking forward to getting things underway.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 2 races coming up for you here today. We've got the Nations Cup race taking place at the Suzuka Circuit in Group 3 cars. Last time, of course, for round 3 when we were on air, we were in Group 2. This time we're in Group 3. And Manufacturer Series at the Sardinia Road Track B, a fictional track on GT Sports. Again, Group 3 cars for our drivers to be competing in. So a bit of familiarity for them over these 2 races.
Yep, that's right. And speaking of familiarity, let's talk about Suzuka, because that's where our drivers are going to be driving at first today. Now, Suzuka, one of those circuits that if you don't know it, then you really should. You have Wikipedia, you got Google, you got the world at your fingertips. You don't know this track? Shame. Anyway, the world's most famous figure-of-8 circuit, home to the F1 Grand Prix, Japanese Grand Prix, of course. Some of the most famous corners here, 130R, of course, the last chicane where the infamous incident between Prost and Senna took place all those years ago. Best places to overtake, probably down the hairpin and down at T1. Most of the elevation changes is from the bottom of the circuit down towards the top of the S's, up towards the Dunlop curve. And a track that our drivers are more than familiar with. A little bit of a flashback here to Paris last year at World Tour 1. Here was Nissan, discovering that the AstroTurf actually is quite slippy, and others decided to follow him, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not the easiest track to navigate. You can see down here at the Spoon Curve, this is between Porsche, Mercedes-Benz and Nissan as they made their ascension back through the field. Porsche being shoved out a little bit wide there, losing 2 positions. Of course, you've got to be a bit careful if you don't go too tight in that corner, because you could lose speed on the exit. You'll carry that all the way down to 130R. And the final chicane, Jimmy, everybody knows this one, don't they? In particular, Aston Martin.
No, they're going to remember that, of course, losing out right at the last second to Renault, but that's just how it is sometimes, unfortunately.
That is racing, isn't it? Well, our drivers have, of course, qualified for our Nations Cup race in the top 16 Superstars. And Jimmy, I think you're going to guide us through the pole lap, aren't you?
I am. We're very lucky. We have the onboard lap here from Baptiste Beaufoy, our pole sitter for here at the Nations Cup at Suzuka. So let's go on board for him in the Nissan GTR Group 3 car, coming around the last corner now and down the main straight to start our flying lap. So the car is snaking in front, using that slipstream to get a bit of an extra boost down towards T1 now, coming up now towards T1, right to the left-hand side of the circuit. You want to just brake at the 50, chuck the car in and focus on the exit more for T2 here. Exit is more important than at the entry. Now we come up towards the S's. This is where the front tyres really start doing their work, start earning their salary, as you have to chuck the car from left to right. Very easy again to overwork the front tyres here and actually get them to start working against you. Now coming up towards Dunlop curve, next corner, which is the left-hander, using the right-hand curve to hook the car in. Now through Dunlop. Watch out for the grass on the outside here. If you tag that even slightly, you're going into that barrier over on the right. Now up to the 2 Degnas. First one is very fast and very aggressive, you're seeing here. 5th gear through there before slowing the car down towards the 2nd Degna. A lot calmer and a lot more collected through there. Now coming up to the hairpin, you've got a bit of an awkward turn before it, so make sure the car is straight before you start hitting the anchors, otherwise the front tyres tend to give up going to there. Now you'll notice in front of us we have Mr. Jay Fowler. He is going to play a part in this hot lap, of course. He's been driving us around this entire time. But Baptiste Beaufoy behind is just that little bit quicker, and it's now getting to the point where Fowler might start to get into some dirty air. Now, coming up to Spoon Curve. Left-hander, very easy to go wide here onto the Astro. Now into Understeer City, the second part of Spoon. Slightly off camber here, again, very easy to run wide onto that gravel on the right. Now, how is this for commitment? Baptiste Beaufoy at this point cannot see the circuit ahead of him. He is being completely blocked by Jay Fowler in front, who's more than entitled to be there. Coming up to 130R, down to 5th gear, chucks the car in doesn't really flinch at being so close to the GTR in front, and now into the last chicane again, just completely blind from Baptiste Beauvoir through here. Fantastic bit of driving to keep the car on the straight and narrow. Not only that, but this was the fastest lap of the session. A fantastic lap from Baptiste Beauvoir, despite the disadvantage of being stuck behind Fowler.
Huge commitment there from the Frenchman. Really come on form lately, I think it's fair to say, within these top 16 Superstars races. Good to see him doing so well in the FIA GT Championship. So we've seen the pole man. Let's see how the rest of the grid lines up as we get ready to go racing in the Nations Cup. So over then to the grid for the start of the Nations Cup race for round 7 of the top 16 Superstars. And here is how our rows are lining up. On pole position, that brilliant lap from Baptiste Beauvoir in the Nissan GTR. Alongside him is Nikita Moisov, the Czech driver, in P2. Second row of the grid, Valerio Gallo from Italy. Alongside him, it's Busanelli, his fellow Italian, completing that second row. And the third row of the grid, Scabilia, the Frenchman. Thomas Scabilia lines up in the GTR. And alongside him is Coque Lopez. With that said, let's have a look and catch up with some of our drivers.
The top 16 Superstars is a special race because you see the top drivers in the rankings race each other. So that makes it even more exciting and spectacular.
And also because it gives more points than usual, so it's very important to get a good result.
Before the races, you have to prepare a lot of strategies.
It's a way to be faster overall without being faster on track, if you see what I mean. Because you can be smarter than your opponent and actually take advantage of your strategy.
You never know what's going to happen, so you have to always prepare a plan B, because if you, for example, if you don't manage well the tires or you end up in traffic, you have to change very soon the strategy.
So that's how our grid lines up ahead of the Nations Cup race. Let's get ready for action then. Jimmy, our hot pick for this one is the man who lines up in P6, Coque Lopez. He's the first runner on the medium compound of tyres, as we can see.
Yeah, that was going to be my reasoning for that as well. It'll be interesting to see what he can do around here. Of course, our top 5 going for that soft, and everyone apart from Serrano going for the mediums. I had a smile on my face going for the grid because we've got an entire field of GTRs here, and then Martin Grady down there in the Audi doing what he does best, and just hampering himself.
Well, qualifying hasn't gone the way for Martin Grady down there in P15. Hopefully he can turn things around. What are we expecting very quickly down to T1?
I think it will be probably a snake down to T1. They're all in the same car at the top here, so all at equal performance. So overall, I'll be looking just to cover off first place and the lead up for the S's.
Here is Baptiste Beauvoir, then that fantastic pole lap as we were referencing just a few moments ago. Let's see whether he can convert that into a victory here. He had a brilliant strategy last time out when we were covering round 3. What can he do here for round 7? The EMEA region top 16 Superstars race for the FIA Gran Turismo Championships. It's time for the Nations Cup race to get underway then. Beauvoir leads the field over the timing line as we go green here at Suzuka. Beauvoir immediately ducks out from behind the slipstream and tries to break the toe of Moisov behind as they come down towards the first corner. You can see everybody weaving, trying to halt the charge of the drivers behind, but everybody being relatively calm and composed down towards that first corner. Beauvoir holds on to the lead ahead of Moisov. Keep an eye out for Valerio Gallo and Busanelli. I think somebody was going a little bit wide there in the background, but otherwise relatively clean start.
Yeah, the drivers there just trying to get a bit of heat into the tyres before attacking, of course, the S's. Going through this this section of a circuit with cold tyres is hell, which is understeer city, especially in this car as well, which is kind of famed for such things. As we see Valerio Gallo there, he's in third position. It's been, as you say, Tom, quite clean and tidy so far. Not many changes up and down the grid. Of course, the top 5, we expect to see them pull away a little bit from the rest of the pack, given they are on that softer compound of tyres. But if Coque Lopez and the like behind them, if they can hold on behind, then that will put them in good stead for when they come round to change their tyres a bit later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And just regarding tyres as well, Jimmy, of course, everybody here has got to use each compound of tyres, the softs, the mediums and the hards, don't they?
Yeah, 4th and 5th there, just a quick change. We saw Scabilia getting past Busanelli, just up the inside of the hairpin, just caught the end of that there. Important to get those moves done quickly, especially for the one that is a little bit quicker. But of course, what that means is they've slowed each other up a little bit. That's allowed Coque Lopez to get back on to the back of his little pack here. Of course, that breakaway group at the front really trying to get as much distance as possible as soon as they can. Now, if you're on the soft compound of tyre, what you're thinking is, I need to just go. I need to not be battling. I need to be using the most of this tyre possible. whereas everybody else is just really trying to stay with you. Now there is a reminder, top right hand of your screen there, 3 times fuel consumption, 5 times tyre wear. So these soft tyres, especially around Suzuka, are going to be wearing pretty damn quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing to bear in mind is fuel as well. Drivers can take 30 litres on board, but if they're going full attack, they will need to take some fuel on board towards the end of this race. 16 laps to remind you, and it's quite a long lap here at Suzuka, I think it's fair to say. Marcus Connaughton comes in from the mediums to the hard tyres at the end of the first lap. We're expecting Serrano to come in. He does as well. He's from the hards to the mediums. So interesting strategy there for Connaughton. He wants to get off the mediums and the hards as soon as possible, I'm guessing, by the looks of things.
It may be that way, or maybe he just really feels better on the hard compounder tyre. The thing is, the soft compounder, I'm fairly sure, will not go that long around here. That's 5 times tyre wear. Your tyres will be like soup at the end. I've never tried cornering on soup before, but I imagine it's not very good. So I think really they need to just focus on really using that medium tyre if they can. So I don't really see the sense of Collins' strategy with Serrano just doing the opposite. But maybe it's a masterstroke, who knows? Anyway, we're on board with Pissinelli now. Great driver's eye perspective here of what you're seeing when you're driving around the Suzuka Circuit. That GTR, definitely the car of choice, as we said at the start of the race. Only one driver is not driving a GTR. That's Martin Grady, who we all know has a bit of a thing for the R8, so I think he wants to just try and drive it for as long as possible.
Yeah, and making his way back up through the field now into P13, which is lovely to see there for Martin Grady. Not the top-ranked British driver, that's Fowler, who is in at P11 at the moment. But just riding on board here with Bussinelli, you can see there being really smooth coming into the spoon curve. This circuit being quite old school in its layout, Jimmy, do you think it rewards the smoother driver as opposed to the more aggressive?
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of long sweeping corners here with the outside front tyres just getting loaded up big time. So if you're easy through there, if you can really try and negate some of that tyre wear with smooth driving, then it will pay dividends towards the end of your stint here. Meanwhile, Baptiste Beauvoir looking nice and calm and collected. Someone who's really come on in their own recently, I think, Tom. They've really been improving over the last couple of years, and especially now in his online events, really starting to get very quick indeed, and has been the man to beat, I think.
Yeah, if you look back to last time, especially in the top 16 superstars, that masterstroke of a strategy got him onto the podium on the penultimate lap of the race when we were at the Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit, and again didn't do too badly either. Also on the podium in the Nations Cup race in round 3 when we were last covering this. So he's a driver who is held in very high esteem and has been making steady progress up the field, and is now doing a really good job of having pulled out nearly a second gap over Nikita Moisov in P2. Meanwhile, you see Yehul and Connaughton into the pit. So Connaughton getting off that hard tyre, he's now on the soft tyre here. I'm still trying to work out what strategy is going on there, because making 2 pit stops by the start of lap 3 is an interesting way to go about things.
There'll be another stop there for sure. I think he's going to go for the 3-stop strategy, and that's worked a couple of times in previous events. Of course, Suzuka is one of those circuits where having nice tyres really does help you, but it's not going to help you if you've got to use them to get through people. Connaughton's right in the back of the pack now, and of course these guys aren't going to be intending on pitting anytime soon. And you might think when you're out there, I'm 2 seconds that quicker than these guys, and when you then catch them, you find you can't get by them. You just end up wasting that tyre being 2 seconds lap slower than your best because you can't get by. So we'll see if it works out. I wouldn't do it around here because, as you said, it's quite an old school track this time, quite hard to overtake around here. So, but we'll see. We've seen tactical masterclasses in the past. Maybe we'll see it here today. You see all the locking a bit more there for Connaughton going through the hairpin. Great view of the driver there at work in the office. Here's Rick Kevelam, old slick Rick from last time out. Not quite as quick in these cars. Maybe not enjoying the lower downforce.
No, I was just about to say actually there, as I kind of muted Jimmy, sorry about that. But yeah, he was on Group 2 cars last time, so as you said, maybe just the lower downforce not working well. It's still in this GTR, but it's a very different kettle of fish, this one. Qualified in P10, is now up into 9th position. He's on that medium tyre, so of course you wouldn't expect him to be as quick as the front runners who are all on the soft compound of tyres. Speaking of the front runners, you can see there Bussinelli's been given a penalty for one reason or another. It looks like that's exceeding track limit, a 1-second time penalty that he's going to serve, presumably coming out of the spoon curve, as all the medium runners now, or a lot of them in the mid-pack, making their change over, some going onto the hard, some soft.
Have you noticed though, Tom, back of this pack, who's still attached to it? It's Coque Lopez. He's still there. He's still hanging onto the back of this pack on the soft runners. You'll just see him there just for a second, just slithering into frame there. There he is in the Williams Esports livery, coming around the right-hander now, and doing a very good job on these medium compounder tyres. I know you might be thinking, what's so difficult about that? But this tyre is, about a second a lap or so slower than the soft tyre. He's still managing to keep it there. And that's, again, just highlighting the skill of Coco Lopez. Definitely, I think it's fair to say probably the quickest Spanish driver currently.
Yeah, it's really good to see Coco Lopez doing so well. And one thing I have to say is there'll be frustration from him last time. He didn't make the top 16 Superstars, had some issues back at home, which didn't allow him to connect into the game, wasn't able to compete, and his race was over before it had already begun. So I think there's probably a sense of redemption almost there for him today.
Yeah, those issues can be very frustrating. I've been fallen foul on myself in various different titles, but the thing you have to remember is that that's basically our version of a mechanical failure, so that it's all part of the immersion. Oh no, it's broken. Happens a lot. So looking back now from Scabilia, Bushnelli's about to take that penalty, and you see, it's always, that is the effect of the penalty there. You're wondering how bad the second is. That's more than the second. It's just you slow down for a second, but then of course you've got to speed up again, and all the time you're speeding up, you're still losing time, and that allows Coco Lopez to go up into 5th position. Now I wonder if those guys fighting will actually holding this pack up a little bit, so we'll see. You see how much of the inside of the corner you can cut there as Lopez, just a little bit too enthusiastic with the throttle, keeps it pointing the right way though, but very easy to have that snap from underneath you if you're not careful. Rick Kevlam into the pits for the soft compounder tyre.
Into the pits he comes then, so down in towards the first corner we go. Meanwhile, at the start of lap 5 for these front runners, a lot of other drivers coming to the pits. Carlos Salazar, again a driver who was very unlucky last time out, if you remember, had that infamous spin into the pit wall where he's been on social media. If you saw it on our Gran Turismo Twitter channel, his head in his hands and just the frustration from the Portuguese driver. He'll be hoping for a better time this time out on track, but he's not necessarily that quick at the moment. However, he is now on the softer compound of tyres, so maybe that'll be a tyre compound and a car underneath him that'll suit him a bit better, allow him to show his full potential a bit more.
Yeah, so we've got 4 drivers trying that strategy. We'll be interested to see if it plays out or not. Of course, there's some quick guys back there, Swinerick, Colleran, Salazar and Blajan. They're 4 very quick drivers. So we'll see if they manage to come back through the pack again. Here's Bushnelli now recovering from that penalty. And we have to apologise to some of you guys out there, because I saw in the comments from the last stream you were saying the feel when you're not on a first name basis with Jimmy and Tom. We don't know everyone's first name, all right? Feel free to write it down for us. We're trying our best. But yeah,
that's right.
Very sorry.
That's right, Jonathan. That's right, Jonathan. Anyway, thank you very much for that. So, honestly, I struggle to remember your name sometimes. To be honest, mate. To be honest, it's the same with mine. Yeah,
me too, man.
It's a real problem as you get older, I think, isn't it?
It's the ginger hair seeping into my brain, man. It's ruining me. But so anyway, here's Grady right now. So a little bit sideways there from Martin Grady. He's just right up behind. Is that Jehol? Is that you say that name in the front? Tom, you know that better than me.
My French is worse than my English, mate, to be honest with you.
Well, that's a Belgian driver. Of course, a reminder, we are in the Group 3 machine. So I'd say Group 3 machines because there's only 2 cars being used. There's a GTR being used by literally everyone else. And then here's Martin Grady in the struggle bus that is the Audi R8, which is very pretty out there, but unfortunately not quite as quick as our beloved Turbo Brick around here today as we come down the start-finish straight once more, starting our 6th lap of 16 here at Suzuka, with the top 7 cars still yet to make a pit stop.
Seems to be the case then, doesn't it? Let's see what's going to happen with the strategy for these guys. Just on that point, actually, Jimmy, you were talking about everybody using the same car, aside from Martin Grady, everybody in this Nissan GTR. What does that mean exactly? How does that change the complexion of the race when you've got very similar machinery, identical machinery to an extent, really, for all of these drivers?
Well, it just means that it's essentially spec racing, and that is an option, of course, for Nations Cup. You are open to use whatever car you like, as long as it fits the regulations. In this case, it's the Group 3 regulations. But of course, these guys being the pros, they're going to go out there and find a car that's consistently the quickest out there. And I think it's fair to say for the BOP for this round at Suzuka, Godzilla is well at home. It seems a bit of a flash in the hazards there from Coco Lopez. You notice these guys use the hazards quite a lot to apologise or to communicate in these races. Although I have fallen foul of someone plowing me on the circuit and then just driving off with the hazards on. I'm like, well, thank you. That doesn't help me at all. I'm out here in the gravel. So, yeah. So, of course, Martin Grady thinking maybe I don't want to be the same. Maybe I'll take the Audi. But of course, around here it just doesn't quite have the same pace as the Nissan. But that changes from track to track, from car to car. You know, And if you are of the kind that like to see different manufacturers duke it out more, then of course we've got the Manufacturer Series coming up next. So a lot of different stuff to watch out for. Here is Martin Grady. He has pitted once on the soft compound. Here we go then. So our leaders, pitting in and all coming in now, going soft. So maybe the same strategy there, Tom.
Yeah, I think this is going to be quite interesting because it could come down to who is able to get an advantage in the closing stages if they are going to follow the same strategy. Valerio Gallo, meanwhile, he goes on from the softs to the medium tyres. Everybody else going soft. So, and also Coque Lopez going medium soft as well, so he's going to be quicker at this phase in the race. Fowler there out of position in P6 as well because, of course, he hasn't made that pit stop yet. But that's interesting for Valerio Gallo. Why would he have gone mediums in this middle stint?
Maybe just to get rid of them, maybe to do the short stop now. You have to, of course, be on every compound tyre at some point during this race, and that'll be for Coque Lopez, our hot pick of the race. This is going to be a bit of a disaster for him because he's come up behind Rick Kevlam, who's already made a stop, so now he's in this little bit of a train between Fowler and Kevlam, and all the time he's here, he's losing time, especially with Fowler on the older compound tyres. He's getting a little bit impatient now coming up to the first sector. They're all getting very, very close indeed. I'd be very surprised if we don't see some sort of send coming down to the hairpin. Here we are then on board with Coque Lopez, just pitted in for the soft compound tyre, up towards the hairpin. Rick Kevlam in front.
He's got penalty as well, Jimmy, just so you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. He's got a red flashing dot next to his name, a 2-second penalty. Is that for contact there with the back of one of the drivers? That's a disaster for Coque Lopez in this middle stint. He was our hot pick, as you said, and that could put pay to his performance in this race completely.
Yeah, it must have been a penalty, and that will really put him back down the field here. So that's a big shame for him. Of course, he was looking quite handy in this, but that 2-second penalty will feel more like 4 seconds or so by the time it's all been said and done. Here are the two Italian drivers, Gallo on the inside, Bissinelli on the outside, looking to the outside, but getting a little bit too keen on it. Interesting to see Gallo running a Renault livery on that GTR. It's a bit of a trend for our drivers right now, running mismatching liveries. I've been quite enjoying seeing where it heads.
I mean, to be fair, at least there is a partnership between Nissan and Renault to an extent, so you can kind of get on board a little bit more with that. But it's when you see the Porsche liveries on the Nissan, yeah, exactly. It's a loose connection, but it's still there of some description. Meanwhile, Fowler into the pit lane, so he comes out of that leading group. He was sort of out of position, as we saw. He goes from the mediums to the hard compound tyre. Connaughton makes another pit stop onto the soft compound tyre, so his 3-stop strategy is taking effect now at this middle stage in the race. But riding on board here with Bissinelli, this is going to be just frustrating, I think, for him, stuck behind Valerio Gallo. He knows he's quicker because he's got the soft tyres underneath him, but he can't find his way through at the moment.
Part of the game here at Suzuka, of course, is if you can get yourself trap position. And the thing is, for Gallo, that's worked out perfectly for him. He's on the medium compound tyre. He's going as quick as he can go. He's not really being hurried that much. Although you'd think differently. These guys are super cool under pressure. You could pretty much just be hanging on to their rear bumper and they wouldn't even notice you're there. But Gallo there, the entire time he's out here in the medium compound tyre, he's slowing up Bissinelli. He's got to go onto the medium compound himself, so by the time that comes around, things will be okay. But saying that, Bissinelli sends one up the inside here. He's going to be wide an exit though, and Gallo's going to get the better exit and probably pull back by. Bissinelli has the inside here. It's the shorter line up towards Spoon Curve, but if Gallo can hold it here, he'll be on the inside for Spoon. He's right on the outside there. I think he actually gave a little bit too much space, and Bissinelli pulls back by.
Very close racing, good respect between the two Italian drivers. They are clearly working well together, and that was a perfect switchback there from Valerio Gallo coming through there. But Bissinelli, as you said, getting his way back into P4. Now the thing is for Valerio Gallo, how long is it going to be before he's going to have the likes of Kevlam and Zarka all over his back bumper? Is he going to be able to keep the pace with Bissinelli at the moment? Meanwhile, further down the order, this is a nice little squabble for position going on just on the fringes of the top 10. You can see there Yahul and Swiderick. Apologies if we're butchering the pronunciations for these drivers, but Yahul there just going defensive on the brakes into the chicane. Swiderick not able to find his way past at the moment, but clearly looking faster. You would expect that to be the case because he's made one more pit stop, and Serrano and Yahul come into the pit lane, allowing the Polish driver some clean air, and now he is able to continue on. He's made 2 stops here, Jimmy, as well, so he's going for that 3-stop strategy by the looks of things here as well.
So regarding, of course, our pronunciations, I mean, you're on board now. You've been watching the show long enough to know we try our best and don't usually get it right. So you know what you're getting when you're tuning in. Right? Let us know, though. If we are butchering it, give us a comment down below. Let us know how to say it, and we'll do our best to get it correct next time around. So, Patrick Blajan. So he's one of the few drivers who've gone for that two-stop strategy, or the three-stop, I should say. Right now, Swiderick, who's in front of us, you can just see him up there, is kind of leading this alternate strategy group at the moment, with Blajan and Salazar having a little bit of a scrap at the moment. So I wonder how much of a scrap these guys want to have, though. Do they want to really be doing this, or do they want to be focused on going quickly? Because when you do these longer, these more pit stop strategies, that was a really bad way of saying that. When you do more pit stops in your strategy, you have to go quicker. You have to be going faster the entire time. You can't be afford to be held up, otherwise the strategy is just null and void. So Blajan might be thinking, I can go a bit quicker here, but does he chance the movers in the background? Grady, there you go, mate. Sends it up the inside there of the Belgian driver in the Audi. He'll be happy with that, I'm sure, but that was a soft compound tyre pass on a hard compound tyre. I'll not take everything away, Martin.
Yeah, he's not the most competitive out there, I think it's fair to say, but I think he probably realises that there, Martin, but such an allegiance he's got to Audi that he's just trying to hold on. But you can see even on the soft compound of tyres, where Yahul is on the hard, he's still able to stick with him through those corners at the moment. There is Yahul just lighting up those rear tyres coming out of that spoon curve onto the start-finish straight. He's going to be a bit of a sitting duck here, I'd say, to Marcus Condon. He's going to be watching his mirrors quite significantly. So down this straight we go, in towards 130R. Kevelam comes into the pit lane, as well as Zarka. Then they're going soft, respectively, for those two drivers. Here comes Condon darting out of the slipstream, going up the inside to the final chicane. Beautiful textbook move, a simple block pass there, not allowing Yahul to find his way back through out of the final corner as the Belgian comes into the pit lane, but Condon now through into 12th.
He did a really good job to get that thing stopped then. I didn't think he was going to make the corner. That was, as you said, a textbook block pass there, where you just essentially just you pass the guy and then just stop in front of him. So there's no way you can get round to come back at you that way. Great pass there, but of course the reality of situations, we're still down in 12th here, Condon. So I think he'll be going to the end now on his tyre, but if you look at the gaps to everybody else around him, Grady's 4.5 seconds behind Salazar. That's a pit stop pretty much, and Condon is 12th here, so I don't see much outside of maybe a top 10 just for Condon if things go his way. Anyway, 7th, 8th and 9th all in your picture right now as we come through the second Degner. Rick Kevelam in the middle of this little GTR sandwich. Is it GTR sandwich if you have a GTR in the middle as well? You get those sandwiches, right? I'm going to go off topic for a second. You get 2 pieces of bread. You get a toast sandwich, 2 pieces of bread. You get a bit of toast in the middle, and there's apparently that's a sandwich. This is what we got here.
What on earth are you talking about?
Google toast sandwich, all right? You'll know it exists. It's not good. Don't have it.
I so hope that gets clipped for Twitter, Jimmy.
That toast sandwich is important, but back to the actual racing and the reason we're actually here. Kevelam is on the outside now. He's going to try maybe a run around the outside. Not really a place to do so if you haven't got a toe. And I think Rick is a little bit quicker than Swiderick in front, so he might go for a lunge here down the chicane. We're seeing a couple of people try. He's on the inside now, looking like he's going to try and get late on the anchors. Yep. Past he goes, again just slots it in front of Swiderick, and that is the move made. Now what do we have to put away as Straka gives him a little bit of a push there into the pit lane he comes. So will he go on to soft compound tyres? He does. So I think they've all used their allotted tyres that they have to use. They have to use every compounded tyre at least once, and please forgive us if we get that wrong, because it's really hard to keep track of 16 drivers using 3 sets of compounded tyres at the same time, but I think they're all doing that right now. But interesting to see the difference here. The free-stop strategy is still being used, Tom. I thought that it wouldn't be quite as effective here, given the lack of overtaking.
No, well, it seems to be the case, doesn't it? A lot of drivers opting for that 3-stop strategy, and well, they're going to be quicker in the closing stages of that race as well. So let's see if it's going to be a strategy that pays off. Here is Thomas Scavilia, a driver who really impressed us last time out, actually, in the top 16 superstars for the EMEA region, and he is there in 3rd position as things stand. You can see him just missing the apex of that hairpin, but keeping honest to Nikita Moisov behind the Czech driver, who is in 2nd position. I'm not going to make the same pun as I did last time, where he was checking his mirrors quite a lot, but he is there in 2nd place. Meanwhile, Baptiste Bouvard cleared off 5.8 seconds up the road. That is hugely impressive, given that he has been on exactly the same strategy as these drivers in front of him. So he has clearly looked much more comfortable than anybody else behind the wheel of this car, and if he keeps it on the straight and narrow, doesn't send it into the barrier or into the gravel at any point, he is in a really good position as things stand with just 5 laps remaining.
Well, this is what happens really when you're out front. You can just focus on what's in front of you, which is usually a clean track. Wong Baguette, it says there on the side of his car.
It's his PSN ID.
Is it actually Wong Baguette?
It's actually his PSN ID, yes.
Well, okay, these guys, seriously. Anyway, so 6 seconds now is the gap, and all Mr. Baguette has to do now is essentially keep himself clean and tidy. As you said, just go around. He has got a pit stop to make, or I say he's got 2 pit stops to make. He's got to go onto the medium compound, go onto the hard compound of tyres. So whilst there is a 6 second gap there, let's see who the next person is to do that. So Coque Lopez, he only has to stop once, as does Gallo, because he went onto the medium compound. So first to 4th have to stop twice, 5th and 6th have to stop once. Where is Lopez? He's actually come onto the back of Gallo again now. So although he said that penalty earlier on, look at how much faster he is there. Yes, he's coming up to Dunlop now. Great view back here from the Italian driver's car. And just able to get that a little bit closer. Won't have a go into Degna. I don't think he's feeling that brave, but he might have a go into the hairpin.
Yeah, Degna's not an opportunity to find your way past, but as you said, if he can set something up through that second Degna, he's just so much closer. He's going to get great exit out of there. Gallo lights up the rear tyres, and that allows Lopez to pull alongside on corner exit. Look at how much more grip he's got. He's around the outside before they've even made it to the hairpin. That is hugely impressive from Coque Lopez. Makes his way through into 5th position, and that is exactly what he needs to do. He's got a bit of clear air now to just run his own pace for the next couple of laps.
Yeah, and that'll be relief for Coque. I mean, he still wouldn't be too happy if how the race has gone for him. I think he had a really strong strategy here. He really did all he had to do in the first stint, and then kind of just fell apart with the penalty. Meanwhile, here's our favourite piece of furniture, Martin Grady, 11th place right now, still going round. Still doing a good job in that R8. Of course, not as high as he'd want to be. I know Martin, he's a very competitive chap. So he'll be looking to try and get past these guys for the end. And meanwhile, in front of the field, Beauvoir in. Importantly, low fuel as well. There's going to be some fueling going on here.
Yeah, there is. Of course, he could run that medium tyre for 1 lap or a few laps. And I think what he'll probably do is run that medium tyre for a few laps and then go on to the hard tyre towards the end. Of course, he went soft, so he will be making 3 stops, as will everybody else around him. Moisov, Lopez has not made another pit stop, so Lopez now sits in P2, of course, on the soft tyre, but those tyres are now coming towards the end of their shelf life. So he's really out of position here, is Coque Lopez, as is Valerio Gallo, who's very close behind. Nikita Moisov, Thomas Kabilia, the drivers who were battling for those podium positions, and now they're stuck in traffic after their pit stop. That's not what they need, because if they were going to try and close that gap down to Baptiste Beauvoir, stuck in traffic on your outlap is not where you want to be.
Fingers top assistant traffic, these are the positions now, because of course Lopez and Gallo have already used the soft and medium, and these guys still have 1 more stop to make to go into the hard tyres, so they all have 1 more stop to make now. So this is how the race sits, this is how it is. So Lopez's strategy, of course, as you see, blinder, really fantastic. If only he didn't have that penalty earlier on, he would have been right on the back of Baptiste Beauvoir. So really, this is now a straight fight for the podium.
This is very interesting indeed. Look at Moisov lighting up the rear tyres as he pulls alongside Valerio Gallo. He could have got a good exit out of there and pulled alongside him, but he doesn't, and now he sits behind the Italian once more. So 3 different nationalities fighting for position as we come down into the spoon curve. This is what we love to see in the Nations Cup. Through that corner we go, and Valerio Gallo there all at sea as he's just trying to get some grip underneath him. You can hear the tyres howling in pain as he tries to find some traction, some purchase coming out of there, but look behind as well as Skabidia pulls alongside. We're going to be in for a great battle coming down this straight then as we head down towards 130R. Which way are we going to go, gentlemen? In towards that corner we go. Skabidia gets ahead of Moisov, but he doesn't opt to try and have a move on Valerio Gallo through that corner. Very sensible there, but as we go hard on the brakes into the chicane, again, just keeping it steady for now. There's no point risking anything. You've got a lot more to lose at this point than you have to gain.
That was really clever there by Scabini. He actually gave Gallo a bit of a bump, saying, come on mate, get on with it. I'm coming through, and kind of push them both forward a little bit as we come on to lap 14 now. So Gallo goes defensive coming down the T1. Let's see what the tyre advantage is like. Not quite that extreme as Skabilia gets it almost out of shape on the curb there. Gathers it up again though before attacking the second part of the corner. This, through this section here, is where the tyre difference really shows coming through the S's. This is where tyre grip is where you want it to be at a premium. You can see straight away the train just closes up substantially, and Gallo is virtually being pushed through here, and Moisov there just tries to get by, taps the rear quarter of Skabilia sideways. They are now on the grass, goes Moisov, off he goes into the gravel. Once you're on the grass there, you are not coming back. I'd say Moisov there maybe being a little bit too opportunistic to try and get by, and just a bit of a racing incident there, but you have to go for it in these late stages. But unfortunately that's Moisov's podium challenge done and dusted.
So disappointing there for Nikita Moisov. Now sits down in 12th position. Here comes Skabilia trying to send it down the inside of Valerio Gallo into the hairpin. Is he able to pull alongside the Italian on corner exit? Not quite. Gallo's got the inside line for the next right-hander and just halts off that charge of the Frenchman once again, but clearly Skabilia looking much more comfortable. You can see him finding an opportunity into the spoon curve. He's going to be on the outside line though as Gallo goes defensive into that corner, but he runs it deep, does Gallo, into there. Skabilia pulls alongside in the second phase of the corner, finds his way through up the inside and into third position. Thomas Skabilia, what a great piece of driving there from the Frenchman.
I wonder now what will happen. Now, what do you do in this situation? Do you gamble and come in for that hard compounded tyre? Surely it must be quicker for Gallo now than the tyre he's on at this point, surely. So maybe we'll see him come into the pit lane and do that. He's been on that medium compound for a long time now, and then also the guys behind the soft compound are starting to gain too. I think they also owe stops. So Coque Lopez in there for his final stop onto the hard compounded tyre. Had enough of those mediums. There Gallo comes in too, who'll go into the hard compound. But bear in mind, the guys who are still out there still need to come in themselves for their last stop. So really now, all the strategies coming together, really starting to hot up.
Taking fuel on board crucially here as well, so that's going to elongate their pit stops there as well. Coque Lopez had just 1 litre left in the tank by the time he came in. It wasn't much better there either for Valerio Gallo. He only had 7 litres. Meanwhile, Moisov and Grady into the pit lane. That's a shame there for Moisov because, of course, as we know, he is now out of contention. On the penultimate lap of the race, and we are here sitting on board with Zarka. Through the left-hander, Rick Kevelan just in the forefront of your shot, sitting in this sandwich at the moment, or this reverse sandwich, or this toasted sandwich, or whatever on earth Jimmy Broadbent is going to refer to it as next.
Toast sandwich.
Toast, oh whatever, I've got no idea. Anyway, sitting in the middle of this at the moment sitting in P4 is Kevelan at the moment on the soft compound tyre. Zarka, of course, right behind is also on the soft tyre. Bussinelli in front on the medium compound here, so you would expect Bussinelli to be a little bit slower and not have as much grip. Is that going to allow Kevelan to attack in these closing stages? Likewise there for Zarka as well. It's getting quite interesting between these guys, and of course they're running out of opportunities here now as well. We've only got a lap and a half to go here, so when do you pounce? How do you judge when is the right moment to make your move?
Well, right now it's just get by and make a gap if you can. You know, you can try the slipstream, but they're all quite quick in a straight line. This GTR is where it excels over the Audi, the one Audi in this field, which is now last, by the way. But in a straight line, so much quicker, so much faster, and the advantage is just there. And obviously these turbo bricks will shoot by in a straight line, so you just need to send it up the inside. If I would I'd try and do it down to T1, because you can't pass pretty much from T1 until you get to the hairpin. So you've got to get it done early, otherwise you're going to end up just sitting behind him. So, Beauvoir in for his last stop. He will stay in the lead, I imagine. In comes Skabilia as well for the hard tyre. Kevelan too. Everyone coming in now for that last hard tyre. Let's see where Lopez and Gallo are. Let's see if they manage to gain any time at all. Here's Coque Lopez, second place for now. Watch that pit exit. There is Skabilia coming out the pit lane. I think he's going to jump him just about. He does. So Coque Lopez retains second position now. And it's now an equal fight to the end. Skabilia does have slightly cleaner tyres than Coque Lopez, but they're colder, as you're seeing there, sideways coming out of T2. And I think now it's a battle between these two for the potential second place on the podium.
Well, this is very interesting then on the final lap then, coming through the S-Bends, riding on board here with Skabilia. Everybody in the same boat now on these hard compound of tyres. Of course, Coque's a lap older than Skabilia's, so maybe that'll be a bit of an advantage having gotten them up to temperature sooner. We know they don't have a good amount of grip. They're about 1.4 seconds a lap slower than the soft compound of tyres and 1.1 seconds slower than the medium tyres, so there's a significant disparity in performance. Keep an eye out as well for the likes of Serrano and Blajan, who are not too far away from the hard compound shod drivers of Zarka and Kevelan in the forefront. They're on the final lap. They'll have to have a bit of a minor miracle to close up, but still, it's going to be interesting to see whether they can do so. However, Koke is in a really good position here, Jimmy.
I would have said what could have been for Koke Lopez if he didn't get that penalty. But to be honest, the gap, 9.5 seconds to our leader, Baptiste Beauvoir. He's coming round 130R now. For Baptiste, it has been an absolutely amazing race. Led from the front, did not look back at any point. Coming through the last chicane for the last time. And the Frenchman going to be incredibly happy with this result.
Huge, impressive result from Baptiste Beauvoir, stamping his authority. The Frenchman takes the win in the Nations Cup race here in the top 16 Superstars. Beauvoir on top, a faultless performance from him. Koke Lopez comes home in P2. Very impressive given his penalties and his struggles in this race. Skabilia makes it a double French podium in third place. Bussanelli fourth. Rick Kevelam lines up P5. Well, that is a very impressive race there from all of those drivers. Lots of great racing up and down the field. I think for 12th position as well, Valerio Gallo really lost out in the closing stages there, and he was just under attack by Fowler in P16. But there we can see our drivers, and that is how the race finishes then. So Beauvoir ahead of Lopez and Skabilia on the podium. Bussanelli, Kevelam, Zarka, Serrano and Patrick Blajan down there in P8. Zarka there with the fastest lap in that race, a 156.7, so even quicker than our race winner. Salazar, Connonan, Swiderick, Valerio Gallo in 12th position, Jay Fowler, then comes Yahul, Martin Grady in 15th place, and Nikita Moisov. What could have been for him, Jimmy?
Yeah, it's just a real shame for him, that contact with Skabilia just put pay to any sort of result there, but it happens to the best of us, man. So just got to come back stronger next time.
So let's take a look at the championship standings then for the Nations Cup of the top 16 Superstars. You can see Baptiste Beauvoir, after that win, takes over at the top of the standings ahead of Rick Kevelam there, Jimmy.
Yeah, not a great race for Kevelam in comparison to the guys around him. Of course, Koke Lopez with that second place moves up to third as well, with Gallo and Mangano, who we didn't see this time, losing out slightly. But changes up and down the field, and still, as we can see, fairly close at the top. Only 50 points or so between first and fourth position still.
Yeah, really impressive to see there. Skabilia, Bussanelli, big movers in that one, going ahead of Jose Serrano. Zarka going up the order as well, and you can see Jones also moving up down in P15. So it's been interesting to see how it all plays out as we continue the top 16 Superstars races later on in the FIA GT Championships. Anyway, let's talk to our winner from that race, shall we? Baptiste Beauvoir. So we're here with Baptiste Beauvoir, winner of that Nations Cup race. Hugely impressive stuff from you, Baptiste. How are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, very good. I didn't expect, to be honest, to win the race today because I was thinking to make maybe third or second position in qualifying, because in my lap I was a little bit blocked by a driver. So yeah, I was lucky to get the pole position, and at the end, it was my first top 16 nation race, so I'm happy. Good.
Well, you say that you didn't really expect to win, but you sort of just left everybody else behind. There was a big gap between you and second place. Were you surprised to see that sort of gap?
Yeah, to be honest, yeah. Because, you know, with the slipstream, actually, it's not pretty difficult to follow the guy ahead of you. So, yeah, I just saw a lot of driver got some penalty behind me. And after that, I just tried to push and try my maximal. And when I saw after the second pit, I was, I think, ahead of VQS Nick. I say, yeah, maybe I can win. So let's go.
Now, I've just watched our Nations Cup drivers race around here, and if you're wondering, how do I get that good? Then don't worry, we've got you covered. Mick Cazal there, of course, our 2019 Nations Cup champion, gave us a lap guide around Suzuka, which you can look and watch on our Gran Turismo YouTube channel.
If you want to get involved with the 2020 FIA GT Championships, you can take part in the online series by entering Sport Mode on GT Sport. You represent your country or territory, and you see the 3 different online stages that we have taking place. Then, if you qualify, you can compete in the top 16 Superstars events on those particular dates. The driver with the highest points in each region, of which there are 5, will be selected for the top 16 Superstars races. So maybe we'll see you on the grid along with all the other drivers. And if you'd like to take part in the Manufacturer Series, again, get yourself onto GT Sport, enter Sport Mode, and you compete, of course, on behalf of your favourite manufacturer. There are 3 online stages, as with Nations Cup, and of course you can see the top 16 Superstars dates that you'll be competing in as well if you qualify high enough. Hopefully we'll see you on the grid for those. The top ranking drivers from each manufacturer will be selected for those top 16 Superstars races, and then of course the drivers with the highest points in each region will be selected. There are 5 regions in total, and with a bit of luck, if your pace is good and you are quick enough, then we'll see you in those races. Welcome back to the Top 16 Superstars show for the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. We have just seen a thrilling Nations Cup race, and it's time to go over to the Manufacturers Series. And Jimmy Broadbent, it's a bit of a different kettle of fish, this one, but what I want to know is, who would you be going for if you had to pick a manufacturer for the season?
Mate, you gotta stop doing this to me, man. It's a tough question. It is, because you have to kind of think of a couple of different factors as to what you want out of that manufacturer when you're racing. It's very much a two-way relationship. I mean, there are a lot of cars and a lot of BOP differences between each tracks, of course. So you have to think, okay, so where is this manufacturer going to be strong? Where's it going to be weak? That's what you do if you're an intelligent driver. But if you're me, you go for your favourite one. And my favourite bit of a Nissan fanboy, we haven't guessed by now. So yeah, I mean, I'd go for Nissan, but of course that's just purely based on my own personal preferences.
Well, we were at the Suzuka Circuit for the Nations Cup race. We're at the Sardinia Road Track B layout for this one. So why don't you tell us what it's all about?
I can do that. Just rolls off the tongue, that, doesn't it? Sardinia Road Track B. But yes, a fictional circuit based near Italy. Let's talk about it a bit, shall we? Just under 4 kilometres in length. And the circuit is actually very fast and very flowing. You have to have a car that's good at high-speed cornering through here if you want to do well. Best overtaking spot, of course, down to T1 and maybe T4 if you're close enough and feeling a little bit feisty, of course. Elevation change, not too much here, just about 50 metres or so between the lowest point and the highest point. Most of that, as you can see, just after the back straight up the hill. But an interesting circuit. And now we're going to pop over to the pole lap. So then here is the hot lap of Jose Serrano, our pole sitter here at the Sardinia Road Course B layout. Behind Lopez in front as well. Coming up now the very long front straight here. Bit of elevation change here, but really a chance for the car to get all the way up into 6th gear, top of the RPM before heavy braking down into T1. This corner comes back on itself slightly to turn in quite early and quite sharp. Very good toe thrust right now behind the Alpha 4C in front. So nice to have this little bit of a pull along down the straight here. You can see flat out left-hander before going back down into 3rd gear. Maybe use second for rotation here as Serrano does, just to get the car turned in. And then again, back downhill. Bit of a roller coaster this section. A lot of fun to drive, of course. Touch the curb on the inside, help pull the car around a little bit. And now we come down the back straight. And you can see just the elevation change down here. This is where the max elevation change happens. We're still following Lopez, getting that draft all the way down here before braking for this uphill right-hand. You can use a little bit of the curb on the left there. Don't use the blue stuff though, it gets a bit slippy out there. You can use it on exit though, if you're not quite carrying enough speed. Just try and follow the road round here, of course. All these elevation changes in these corners makes it very easy to go wide or make a little bit of mistake on corner exit if you're being a little bit too aggressive. Come round now the last corner, get the draft and prepare yourself now for the pit straight. There is Lopez in front. Gets it a bit wrong next to does Lopez, picks up a penalty, but we don't. Draft to the line, and that was on board there with Serrano for the pole lap. Great job, Serrano. Let's see how the rest of the field lines up.
Here's how the grid then lines up for the Manufacturer Series Top 16 Superstars race for the EMEA region. You can see the drivers all lined up on the grid. Pole position, we saw that Jose Serrano, Renault Sport RS01 that he lines up in. Brilliant lap from him. Rick Kevelan lines up alongside him on that front row of the grid in the Toyota Supra. Mikhail Hazal, the Turkish driver in the Subaru WRX, is in 3rd place. And alongside him on that second row is Baptiste Beauvoir, our winner from the Nations Cup race just a few moments ago. Will Murdoch is in P5 in the Honda NSX, that very distinctive livery on his car, with Valerio Gallo alongside him. Next row of the grid is Musen, the Spaniard in the Volkswagen GTI Vision Gran Turismo Group 3 car. And also in the same machine is Romero in 8th position. The final row inside the top 10 is Coque Lopez, a trio of Spaniards then inside the top 10. And then Florent Pangenet, the Frenchman in the Vision Gran Turismo GT Citroen car. Dilly lines up P11 in the Mercedes-AMG GT3. And then Villa, the Frenchman, alongside him in the Nissan GTR, Jimmy's favourite car. Giorgio Mangano is P13 in the Lamborghini Huracan. And then alongside him is Finn McGinn in the Toyota Supra again, once again as well. Then Lopez in the Alfa 4C. We know it's not the quickest car in Group 3 machinery. He completes the grid. Jimmy, here's our first look at the tyres. What's your thoughts?
So predictably, Serrano and Kevlam going for that soft strategy at the start to try and break away from the rest of the group around here. Hazal Brevois on the hard compounder tyre. You don't tend to see that inside the top 5 or so, but we know those guys tend to know what they're doing, so we'll see how that plays out as time goes on. Other than that, it's a bit of a mix really. I think everyone's just trying something a little bit different this time. There's no set strategy.
No, exactly right. So the drivers just weaving, of course, getting the heat into their tyres. You would expect the likes of Serrano and Kevlam to break away at the front because they're on the softer compound of tyres in comparison to Hazal and Beauvoir on the hard tyres. They're going to have to keep an eye on their mirrors, though, because the likes of Murdoch and Gallo are on the medium compound tyres. Not quite as quick as the softs, but still quicker than the hard tyres. What's going to happen over the course of these 22 laps? It's anybody's guess in the Manufacturer Series, but we're about to find out. The EMEA region top 16 superstars race here at Sardinia Road Course is about to get underway. Jose Serrano will lead the field over the timing line, followed by Rick Kevlam as we go racing here for the top 16 superstars in the Manufacturer Series down towards the first corner. Everybody darting and ducking in that slipstream, trying to weave and break the toe for the drivers behind, but over the brow of the hill and then into the first heavy braking zone on this lap. Serrano and Kevlam holding on to their lead, everybody being very ginger through that first corner, and I'm not surprised at all because it's very tight. There's not a lot of runoff on the outside if you make a mistake, but we've got to keep an eye on these guys here, Jimmy, Hazal and Beauvoir coming under pressure as Murdoch slices his way through up the inside.
Yeah, Murdoch looking to get by these guys as quick as he can on the medium compounder tyre. Does not want to have to wait behind those on the hard compound. In the background, Gallo doing the same thing there on a mission in the VW, that drop top car. Two of those in this race at the moment. Gallo is side by side in the NSX, and they come around this very fast section. It's he'll be on the outside though of this uphill right-hander, so he'll likely lose out. He does. Musha goes back up into. That's not Musha. Sorry, that was no, it was back up to 6th place. Apologies. We're on board now with Romero. There's two of them. It's quite confusing actually. And you can see very rare view from this roof cam. The driver at work down there. That's the advantage of a convertible in racing apparently.
Yeah, you don't see that very often, do you? Only in Gran Turismo do we get the likes of these Vision GT cars, of course, not real-world GT3 cars, or Group 3 cars, I should say, but still very nice to see them. Drivers coming to the pit lane, Hazal and Beauvoir getting off those hard tyres to the surprise of nobody at all. Everybody on the hard tyres, you would imagine, will come in, and indeed they do. They've got to run all 3 compounds of tyre in this race, just to remind you. So they will get off those hard tyres as soon as they possibly can. And just for anybody who's tuning in for the first time, Jimmy, why are they doing that? Why are they changing off of those hard tyres as quickly as possible?
So essentially, everyone has to use every compound of tyre in this race, so the soft, medium and hards have to be used at some point. And the hard tyre around here, unfortunately, is just so much slower than everything else that it's just seen as something you want to get rid of straight away. So you tend to just use it for one lap and get rid of it. I think that could be fixed with maybe some better wear rates for the hard tyre, maybe a bit more speed over the others. But as it stands now, being on that hard tyre for more than one lap is just effectively your suicide in the race doing that. So definitely doing that. On board with Serrano now, you might have noticed that Kevlam has got through. Rick Kevlam is now up into the lead of this race. Serrano, of course, on board in the Renault. And we know Rick has been very quick of late. He's really come on form in the last few races, especially in these manufacturers races and in the Nations Cup race last time around as well. So we'll see what he's got. Lopez there at the back of the field with a penalty, and Michelin now is on the back of Murdoch.
He's got a good run out of that final corner, pulls alongside the Honda NSX, going to the inside line then, and he's already made the move stick down by the first corner. Just going back to Rick Kevlam, actually, Jimmy, I think it's very impressive here from him because this circuit holds quite tainted memories. If you hark back to, I think it was World Tour 4 back in Salzburg last year when we were in the Vision Gran Turismo cars for the first time. In fact, no, apologies, it would have been Tokyo last year when we were in those Jaguar VGT cars for the first time. He absolutely sideswiped the field into T1, caused the first ever red flag that we'd seen at a World Tour event. But he's doing a good job to try and right those wrongs. Yeah, it is quite. It's not a record he would like to hold, but he is doing a good job of just righting those wrongs and keeping a good pace at the front of this race so far.
It's like me, I've got the record for a certain league of wiping out half the field at the start of a race. Only I hold that record, so, so me and Rick are good friends like that. But yeah, I mean, since then, of course, that's the one, probably the instant we know him best for. But since then, he definitely has come on as a driver, a lot more calm now, a lot more collected. And you can see when he had that instant, he just looked, he was pretty embarrassed of himself, as he would be. But right now, doing a good job. Just doing what they need to be doing, really, just pulling away from the field, getting that gap on that soft compound tyre, not fighting too much to slow each other down, and just doing what you have to do when you go with soft first strategy to keep it clean.
Yeah, down towards that first one. It's such a long start-finish straight. You can see the incline as they come over the brow of that hill as well there. It's very easy to make a move with the slipstream. There's such a good amount of room to be able to do it if you get a good run out of that very high-speed final corner as well. Of course, the manufacturer series is very different to the Nations Cup. Drivers competing for different marks, essentially different manufacturers within the game. So they sign a contract with a manufacturer, whether that's Toyota, Renault, Volkswagen, Honda, Hyundai, whatever it might be. They'll sign a contract with that manufacturer, and then they compete with that manufacturer in these particular races. The idea is, of course, that they want to be able to represent them over the course of this season, and when we have our World Tour events resuming in the future, they want to be able to represent them. But of course, it's only 3 out of the 5 regions that we have. We have 5 regions for these online Top 16 Superstars races, so you've got to be up there and the fastest driver for that region. So there's a lot of competition going on.
That's how it is in this series, of course. That's one of the big factors you have to consider when choosing your manufacturers. Is this car going to be popular? If so, I've got more competition than I would usually have, so it's definitely one you have to think about. And I always enjoy the start of each season because all the drivers start teasing who they're going to be driving for. It's just like a real life. And then, of course, the car just always inadvertently just goes inside to Subaru, and that's the end of us. That's the end of that, over and done with. So Mangano, here he is, the Italian driver with the Italian brand, the Lamborghini, coming down the straight now in the slipstream of the AMG in front. Going to go to the outside, long way around at T1 here, both on the medium compound tyres. It's going to be a straight fight there. And Mangano there, yep, nice and confident, and that's what you have to be when you're doing that sort of move. You have to be decisive. You can't back out of it and expect the other driver to back out of it because you're racing after all. Nice and confident, through up into P12.
Yeah, Mangano actually did quite well last time out of the Lamborghini Huracan, which was really nice to see him performing so competently. Down in P12 at the moment, as you say. It's the drivers in the forefront of that shot, though, that we need to keep an eye on. Mikael Hazal and Baptiste Beauvoir, they've made a pit stop already, as indeed have these drivers as well. But of course, Hazal and Beauvoir were at the sharp end of the grid in the opening stages of this race, pitted at the end of lap 1 to go onto the medium compound of tyres. They're going to run those for a bit of time in this race, and then presumably change over to the softer compounds towards the end. What do we reckon here? 2, 3, 4 stops potentially? We saw that in the last race, difference in strategies in the Nations Cup between 2 and 3 stoppers. What would you be doing here, Jimmy? How would your mind be going about it?
Oh, well, luckily for me, I wouldn't be in this race, so I'm not good enough. That's how I always like dodging the question. But it's a tricky one. It depends on really what the strength of the car is. Some of these cars eat tyres more than others, so I'd say if you're at this point, then you could probably stretch it out to do a 2-stopper. But really, if you're doing a 3-stopper, you tend to have soft, or you have the soft tyres being used quite quickly in succession. But we'll see what they do. You know, these guys have obviously done a lot of testing out there before the race. They do that. We have unlimited time to practice essentially for these races before they go live. So it's always a good chance to go out there, run a couple of race stints, and just get an idea of what the car does over the course of a stint. It's not worth sitting there and practicing qualifying. You want to practice with the car as it will feel in the race. So a lot of those guys do that before they start up, and you can see it pays off for him as Rick Kevlin starting to stretch that lead slightly, just about a second now from Serrano.
Look at this squabble going on in the midfield as well. I said the midfield, I mean it's inside the top 5. Will Murdoch there just having to defend from Valerio Gallo. Both drivers in the Honda NSX. You can see the very distinctive livery, I think it's fair to say, on Will Murdoch's car. He's got Mikael Hazal on that, and also Nico Rosberg on the rear wing, as we discovered the last time we did one of these Top 16 Superstars broadcasts. It's a very interesting looking machine. A little bit out of shape there through that final corner, clipping the grass, coming through that kink. That could compromise his drive, and Valerio Gallo with the advantage of the slipstream. He's punching a hole in the air, of course, is Murdoch for Gallo, and now he has got the inside line and a good run coming down this start-finish straight. Side by side they come. Honda versus Honda in the Manufacturer Series race, and Valerio Gallo, smooth as you like on the brakes. That was textbook from the Italian.
Very nice, very respectful as well from Murdoch. Would have been quite easy just to maybe be a little hair too late on the brakes, if you get my drift, and just put Gallo wide there, but very respectful, let him back in there, and Gallo takes the place. Again, another driver who's been incredibly quick on the online scene recently. Great to see the names change as time goes on. We're on board now with Coque Lopez, BMW stalwart now. He's been there forever. It's good to see some drivers stay with certain brands, of course. So we've been like Lukowski with Mercedes, for example. Looking at the inside of Pagenaud, I think there's a bit of contact there on the way in. Pagenaud in the Citroen, which by comparison to the M8 looks like a rocket ship. Well, the M8 is the chunkiest car. This is the M6, sorry. There's a little bit of touching there between Pagenaud and Lopez. These guys are really fighting hard right now, and really they don't need to be. They're all sort of in the same group. Of course, you always want to be in the higher position as a driver, but maybe Pagenaud starting to hold these guys up a little bit now.
Yeah, you can see that there as we come down this start-finish straight. Then Coque Lopez just trying to find his way through at the moment. Villa there in the background as well. The Spaniards clearly doing a good job in this race as they go down the hill in towards that first corner. Mangano into the pit lane, then from the medium to the softer compound of tyres in the mid stages. He's made his second stop in this race already on lap 8 out of 22, and this is one of the things, as Lopez gets a little bit wide there, just kicking up a bit of grass on the outside. This is one of the things I love about this race, is that you see cars that are so vastly different from one another. You've got Coque Lopez there in the BMW M6. Just in front of him is a Vision Gran Turismo Group 3 car.
Yeah, it's some of the things that you couldn't really get in real life, but it still has that flavour that it could happen. It's what I enjoy most about Gran Turismo, is that it's very much, of course, a driving simulator, but it's not afraid to embrace these ideas that, hey, this is cool, let's do it virtually and see if it catches on, And there is actually a model of that thing, isn't there, somewhere on the Citroen? I'm pretty sure one exists.
Yeah, I have seen it around. It has been about as Rick Kevelan comes into the pit lane then from the soft compound of tyres onto the soft compound once again. So that's the Toyota driver in and then out of the pit lane. Where's he going to emerge? There's Moosen just going through into P2. He's got a good advantage there over Valerio Gallo, so he's got good track position here, crucially, Jimmy, as well. He can just run his own race at this point and just set his own pace. He's not got too much traffic.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a dream when you're out there. It's just make all your stops and have this in front of you. Nothing. I mean, you've got Moosen a bit further up the road, but that's 3 seconds. Catching 3 seconds in this amount of time is, he probably will pit by then. So he can just chill out, do his own thing, hit his marks, just focus on chasing lap time. That's what you have to do in this situation. It's really easy to let your mind wander, thinking, what I'm going to have for dinner later. I wonder what's on TV later, or whatever. But the thing you want to be doing is just look at your lap time and trying to hit it consistently, lap after lap. And even if you're on your own, you can really keep yourself occupied doing that. Meanwhile, Lopez and Pagenaud, this fight is still going on. Will Lopez dive to the inside here? No, he won't. That Citroen's pretty handy with the brakes, it seems.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be the case there for him. So he's doing a good job, is Florent Pagenaud, of just holding that defensive line then, by the looks of things at the moment, and just keeping himself and his other competitors honest. This is, of course, the battle for 7th position in this race. Jose Serrano, meanwhile, is in the pit lane from the soft to the mediums. Moosen has got a penalty as he takes over the leaders, the other competitors around him coming to the pits. What about Pagenaud? He's going to take a late dart and dive into the pit lane then, so gets out of the way and gives a bit of clear air there for Coque Lopez. But Villa, who's very close behind as well, is not going to try and stay behind him for too long. Coming down the start-finish straight, bumper to bumper, as Coque Lopez squeezes him on the outside. He's entitled to do that. He has the racing line, he has position, and he retains 7th place here.
Yeah, M6 versus GTR, and not quite able to get by with the GTR, so Lopez will keep the position, as you said. Oh, that was very close for Pagenaud. I was getting flashbacks back to the America's regional final back in 2018 now, which now feels like a very long time ago, where Rouvelard met the pit wall at Bathurst. Remind me a bit of that, actually. Nearly did the same himself. Anyway, so Micazal and Baptiste Beauvoir here. These are the guys leading currently who have made a stop outside of Rick Kevlin and Serrano, of course, in their first stint on the soft compound tyre. So these guys haven't used a soft compound yet, so they're still with that, of course, in hand. And it's looking like, Tom, they're still going long. I think it's only going to be a 2-stop for these guys. I don't think there'll be enough time lapse to double stint the stops for it to be worth it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. That's the thing we love about these races, is the difference in strategies that we have between these competitors. There is Moosen in the pit lane. He had that penalty just a few moments ago, as I was alluding to. Romero, Murdoch also in, as is Villa as well. So a difference in strategies there. Villa, Romero and Murdoch going onto the soft compound of tyres. You can see Lopez as well as Gallo going onto the hard compound. So how is that going to change things in this race? Clearly a difference, as we said, in strategy, but they're all going to emerge relatively close on track to one another. The crucial thing with the hard tyres is, even though it's only a lap, just don't lose touch with the fellow competitors around you. There is Valerio Gallo, who has got a mirror full of Florent Pangenet. As you can see, we run on board. Coque Lopez has a good view of this battle going on for now 9th position in this race. Everybody has at least made one pit stop now within this one as they come over in towards the right-hander. You can see Florent is just trying to find his way past against Gallo at the moment, but is not quite able to do so as things stand. Of course, Gallo on the hard tyre, Pangenet on the soft, so you would expect him to be significantly faster, the Frenchman. And look at how much more grip he's going to try and go for the inside line into the right-hander, late on the brakes. Nice and easy there for Florent Pangenet, just able to brake later, runs it a bit wide, but he should have enough momentum to hold on to 8th position.
Yeah, tyre differences there being highlighted between the two cars, and I think Lopez would have been hoping to come out ahead of these two out of the pit stop, just so we could try and hold them up a little bit, but unfortunately these guys are still a little bit too quick, and you're seeing just a difference now as Pagenaud streaks away from the cars behind. Hazal and Beauvoir now, they're in for their soft compounded tyre, and I wager they're going to run those to the end. Coque Lopez comes into the pit stops too, so they'll go for the soft tyre as well. So actually now coming back onto sequence with Beauvoir and Mikael Hazal, taking some fuel in as well. You've got to take fuel to finish the race. 62 litres will take. That should get him to the end. Now here's Romero, someone who's been a little bit anonymous this race. He's had 1 stop so far, chasing down Murdoch. So, of those who have made 2 stops so far, Hazal is the leader of that. Mangano actually is now in 2nd, and Beauvoir 3rd in that little 2-stop mini race. But let's see what Rick Kevlin has. He's been putting in great laps, has Rick. He's now 5.8 seconds clear of Serrano. He's still got to use that medium compound. He's gone for the 3-stop, I think, there, Tom.
It's a thinking man's race, this, isn't it? It doesn't necessarily play out exactly as you'd see it on screen at the moment, but it will come to fruition in the closing stages as everything sort of settles down with the strategy. Here's Rick Kevlin riding on board with him, the race leader at the moment. Still going good on those soft compounded tyres. Last time around he was a 1 minute 18.097. That was over a second quicker than the medium shot Jose Serrano in 2nd position. So he's just doing a good job of increasing that gap, and it could put him in a good position here towards the latter stages of this race here. I forget what tyres he started on. I think he's still going to run the hard compound of tyres here, has Rick Kevlin at the moment.
He does, yeah. It was soft for the top 2. I think he's got to run medium and hard, yeah, at this point. What I was saying just a second ago. So we'll see how that pans out for him. Of course, he knows what he's doing, so he's going to go out there and just push. Well, he just has to push now. He's on the. When you take more stops, you have to push harder. You have to be on it the entire time, because any time you lose at any point, and the strategy just doesn't work. It has to be a very aggressive strategy to go for a 3-stop. So we'll see how that works out for him. Serrano falling back about a second of that. That's what you expect. That's what you expect, really, from the soft to the medium tyre. Meanwhile, here's Mikael Hazal. He has got 0.7 of a gap over Villa behind, who's made 1 stop and has been pulling away from Mangano and Beauvoir. So about a 2-second gap to those that he's starting with. So you can see the progress now. What we see so common with Mikael Hazal, which just turns it on during the race and just starts to build a gap, starts to increase his speed. And that's something you don't want in your rearview mirror when you're halfway through a race, is a charging Mick Hazal, because usually he ends up in front of you quicker than you see him.
Yeah, he is a very competitive driver, and that's the thing we're used to seeing is when he's got clear track in front of him, he just clears off. I don't know where he finds the pace from, but he just absolutely, as you said, unlocks something extra and is just able to really put the hammer down. Speaking of putting the hammer down, Baptiste Beauvoir needs to negotiate Giorgio Mangano as soon as he possibly can. Late on the brakes into T1 is the way to do it. Up the inside and through into 9th position. Of course, there's a driver separating them in the form of Villa in 8th position there. However, of course, Villa is out of sync with this group because he hasn't made that second pit stop in this race at the moment. But it is still, crucially, some traffic for him to negotiate. He's still got to find his way through at some point.
I reckon that Mick just has like a plate full of cookies next to him, and he just next like a couple right up, and then bam, the pace comes from that. So I think that Beauvoir needs to find a similar strategy. Maybe with that baguette he's been talking about, have a baguette next to him, just have a bit of baguette, it'll get quicker. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, right?
Something like that, yeah, why not? Why not? But I have to say, I'm really impressed actually because, I mean, last time, if we look back to the Manufacturer Series when we were talking about round 3, it was a very different kettle of fish, wasn't it, more than anything, because the Mercedes with Kodolakowski only really came good towards the closing stages of that race. Otherwise, it was pretty much nowhere. But Beauvoir has clearly qualified very well with that Group 3 car and is doing a really good job at the moment to just keep Michael Hazal quite honest in this race.
Well, some cars are better qualifiers than they are racers, so you have to keep that in mind as well. Some cars are quite at that one lap pace, but over a race are really consistent, really kind to tyres, you know. And we know that, well, it wasn't Suzuka anyway, the BOP may have changed themselves, but that Subaru that Mick Hazal's in is pretty quick in a straight line. And that speed doesn't go away regardless of what tyres you're on. So that might also be playing to his advantage. He's now, really starting to close in on Paisha. The gap's come down by 6/7 of a second since I last looked as well. And really, I think, you know, I was thinking the other day, who are the drivers to beat now? You know, we're in a bit of a quieter period in motorsport at the moment because of the things going on in the world. But you know, you have Fraga, you have Mick, you have Cody. Is there anyone else you'd include in that top 3? I kind of don't think there is right now. I think they're just on the outside of it.
They're what they call in other sports the aliens, if you like. You see what I mean? They've just got that little bit extra, something inside of them that is just able to go that extra mile, and they're competitive week in, week out, day after day. And I tell you what, Baptiste Beauvoir, his performance as of late, he's doing a good job of closing onto the back of that trio of aliens, as you were saying.
Yeah, he's getting there. Not quite there yet. Someone who is doing a fantastic job, of course, still is Rick Kevlin. He's still leading the field. 9 seconds now is the gap as we look at this battle between Murdoch and Romero. And the Sex versus VW drop top, because of course. As it would be. I still don't understand this car, man. I get it's a Vision GT, but what are you doing? Whose Vision?
The man who likes convertibles, clearly. Well, there is always the Volkswagen Beetle that you could use instead.
The Beetle's alright though. I like the Beetle instead. It's kind of
it's a chunky old boy, that Beetle, though.
You're putting up to your next to lies thinking, you know what, there's no point. I've already lost. Here is old Slick Rick. I'm going to keep saying that till the name sticks. As we come around now, the last part of the circuit. This is where people pick up a penalty there on the right-hand side, just dipping a wheel onto the grass and getting that penalty. So it's become obvious to me now that Rick is going to be running pretty much as far as he can on that tank of fuel. 1 stop for medium, 1 stop for hards, and that'll be him done. Now, here's one we've been looking at for a while. Mick Hazal has gotten to the back of Florian Pagenet, and now is going to just pull to the outside. It's going to be a drag race, Citroën versus Subaru, coming down towards T1. That Citroën's got legs in a straight line. Mick Hazal pulls out of the draft and immediately is slowed down by the air he meets, and then sent it up the inside as Mick Hazal absolutely just throws it into the braking zone. Pagenet has no choice but to relinquish the corner, and Mick Hazal up into 6th place, done and dusted just like that. That's really impressive actually for the Citroën to be as competitive on that straight as it was, because that Subaru had some serious legs when we were watching it in the last round of the Manufacturer Series. So that is good for Michael Hazal, because he's now got clear track in front of him. What about Will Murdoch versus Romero then? I keep wanting to say Nicky Romero in reference to that singer that did the song with Avicii once upon a time, but it's not Nicky Romero. He's lining up in 4th position as things stand. We're riding on board here with Will Murdoch, who's clearly got a pace advantage over the Volkswagen. Through the right-hander we go, up the hill. Wind turbines in the distance, as you can see, through into the left.
And a little bit of a miss of the apex there for Romero as Rick Kevelam comes into the pit lane here then. So 9 litres of fuel left. He had to make a stop at some point. He chooses to do so now onto the medium tyres. Now he'll probably run these, I would imagine, until the penultimate lap, then change to the hards for the final lap, Jimmy?
I think so, yeah. We'll see where he comes out now, because now, pretty much, he'll be on the same strategy as everybody else. He comes out in second place, just behind Serrano. That'll be a bit of kick of the teeth for Kevelam there. He wanted to try and get out ahead of him, didn't quite get that done. So now everybody has one more stop to make. Serrano will go into the hards, as will Risen as well. Rick, of course, has tried the extra stop, but it hasn't quite worked out. But he will be on fresher tyres now than Serrano, so he might be able to reel him back in again.
I'm fairly sure Serrano's probably going to pit very shortly, though. And the thing is for Kevelam is he's not in that dirty air as it stands at the moment. He's just that little bit further back, so maybe this could be a bit of a saving grace here for Kevelam. Let's see what Serrano does in response to that. Does he pit in this lap? We're running on board here with the Spaniard as well. See him working away very smoothly at that wheel. This circuit, again, like Suzuka we saw before this, just rewarding that smooth, consistent driving style. And let's see whether Serrano does come into the pit. But you can see just the difference in pace there with the fresher medium compound of tyres. Meanwhile, Hizal is now all over the back of Will Murdoch, trying to find his way past again. Of course, far fresher set of soft tyres on Hizal's car. Coming through in towards that final corner, then into that right-handed kink onto the start-finish straight, and this is where we're surely going to see the Subaru come good. So Serrano did not pit, so you're absolutely spot on there, Jimmy, in what you said. It could prove to be very crucial here for Rick Kevelam as Hizal pulls alongside Murdoch. Side by side they come, wing mirror to wing mirror over the brow of the hill, late on the brakes, and a big old squeeze there from Hizal. He muscles out Will Murdoch to the outside of the track, but goes through into 5th position. Murdoch's going to try and fight his way back through, but through those S-bends, it's so much one at a time through there, he's not going to have a response at the moment.
Now, has Mick taken the medium tyre yet? I'm unaware whether he has or not. He may have done. I know you might be shouting at your monitor right now, but it's quite hard for us to keep up with all the strategies at once. But if he's taken the medium tyre, he's now running to the end, which I think he may be doing. Then this is his race, pretty much, I think. He's going to just run to the end. The gap to the lead is about 5 seconds. So he has taken the medium tyre. There's a confirmation there from our maintenance director that he has taken the medium compounder tyre, and this means that Hizal could be the one to watch it. Now this is a disaster for Kevelam, because Serrano, if I were him, I'd be staying out as long as possible, because you both have to pit one more time, and the more time you keep Kevelam there, the straighter the race will be to the end. Of course, it depends how much fuel Serrano has on board in that Renault. Here is Mick Hizal then. Now Romero's a little bit wide there, and exit that should allow him the draft. Here we are on board with a Subaru, a bit of a wonky angle here as we go down the pit straight, and Romero there, I told you he was a bit wide, picks up a penalty, so that'll be an easy pass, should be for Hizal. But look at the VW in a straight line. What's Hizal got on the brakes? He's going to come from a long way back as he thinks about it, doesn't quite go for it as well. Will Murdoch gets a penalty in the background too, so it's in a bit of a penalty sandwich right now. It's Mikhail Hizal, but he needs to get by Romero as quick as he can. He might get him here. Romero's a little bit slow on the exit, and there goes Hizal up into 4th place.
Lovely stuff there from the Turkish driver through into P4 then for Mick. That's very good. The tables could be turning though, as Kevelam has got the better of Jose Serrano here. So now the Dutchman is out in the lead of this race. 0.6 of a second, he's already pulled over Serrano, of course, who is clearly running a different strategy compared to the Dutchman. Is the Spaniard in 2nd position. Here is Baptiste Beauvoir. We haven't mentioned him too much because he's now finding his way past Florent Pangenet through into 8th position, but this is very costly indeed here for Baptiste Beauvoir, because he's caught in traffic whilst Hizal has just been able to negotiate it that bit quicker, and I think it's put him out of contention for this race victory, because look, Beauvoir down in 8th position. He's significantly further back than Hizal, who's now made his way through into 4th here.
It happens sometimes, just get a bad draw of the traffic. So Serrano into the pits onto the hard compounder tyres. Kevelam is going to go 1 lap longer and pitting at the end. So where does Serrano come out? This will be a good indicator of where the leaders will be once that happens. So Serrano comes out.
There he is.
Okay, yeah.
Just ahead of Beauvoir.
A few seconds behind Hizal though.
Yeah, that's crucial there for Jose Serrano and also for Baptiste Beauvoir. So these guys, this could be the battle for the final spot on the podium, if nothing else, but still, that's not ideal at all for either of those guys.
No, it's not. And the thing is, well, the reason why I said that is because they were so close together. When Kevelam comes in, that will likely be the gap between the two. We'll have to wait and see. It's still going to come down to here. So Hazal then, he's on the charge, third place. The guy in front of him has to pit, as does Rick Kevelam, who is in first position. We're seeing there in the VW in front. And right now, Mick needs to get by as quick as he can if he wants to try and challenge for this race. But you can see the difference in traction there coming up the hill, just has a bit more on that soft compounder tyre. Still on board here with Mikhail Hazal, of course, our 2019 Nations Cup champion. Focusing on manufacturer series this time round, and it really shows.
He's been putting in the hours and the effort, and you can see how committed and how much he understands that car. Kevelam into the pits then, so the race leader comes in from the medium to the hard tyres. Moussen's going to follow suit as well then, so those two drivers from the top positions. But where is Kevelam going to emerge? It's going to be behind Mikhail Hazal, surely. He comes out of the pit lane here, this is crucial, and Hazal goes through into the race lead on the final lap then. So Mikhail Hazal, all he has to do is keep it on the straight and narrow, because Kevelam, of course, is on that hard tyre, and now it will be Hazal's race to lose here.
Kevelam's heart was sunk there, seeing Hazal come through in the frame. Baptiste Beauvoir, as you said there, Tommy's the one now fighting for that last step on the podium. But what a great effort that was from Kevelam to try and make that free-stop strategy work there. And he almost had it done, I think, maybe if he just managed to eke out a couple more seconds. But it just seems that starting with a hard tyre worked out a bit better for this man, Mick Hazal. Half a lap to go. All he's got to do now is drive to the line.
Very impressive stuff there from Mikhail Hazal. Beautifully executed strategy as well. Kept it calm, negotiated the traffic with ease. It looked like he was just in a different league. As Jimmy said, he just unlocked something in the mid stages of that race, and he's only got a couple more corners to go. I'll tell you what, Baptiste Beauvoir's done a good job of getting ahead of Jose Serrano there as well. Of course, he's on the soft tyres, so it's going to be three different nationalities on the podium here. But out of the final corner comes Mikhail Hazal, and over the line to take the win in the Manufacturers Series Top 16 Superstars race for round 7 of the FIA Gran Turismo Championships. Rick Kevelam for Toyota comes home P2, and Mercedes-Benz with Baptiste Beauvoir rounds out the podium in third position. Jose Serrano tried as hard as he could, but it wasn't quite to be for him. There's a good battle to the line going on further down the order for 11th position between Villa and Mangano, with Villa just getting ahead. But, well, a very interesting race there, and a fantastic performance from the Turkish driver Mikhail Hazal.
Kind of used to seeing it, really, aren't we? A great race from Mick, and again also a really good race from Rick Kevelam behind him. Can't understate just how great of a driver that was on a different strategy from anyone else, and to do another pit stop and end up just 2.5 seconds off the pace, pretty decent, I think.
Very impressive. You can see the drivers down the order there. Serrano, Moussen inside the top 5. Romero, Pongenet lost out at the end there. Villa and Mangano. What happened to Giorgio Mangano down there in P12? Just ahead of McGinn, Jose Lopez, who had quite a few penalties in that race, as we saw, and then Dilly for Mercedes-Benz rounding out the 15 competitors in this race. So hugely impressive stuff in the Manufacturer Series Top 16 Superstars. Let's take a look, shall we, at the championship standings. Championship standings then for the Manufacturer Series of the Top 16 Superstars. You can see exactly what that has done for Mikhail Hazal, that win. He takes over at the top of the order ahead of Baptiste Beauvoir. Rick Kevelam, Jose Serrano moving up, as well as Valerio Gallo and Moussen there, Jimmy. But quite a few drivers going down the order, actually.
Yeah, Mangano, I think, was the big loser in that race for Lamborghini. Just didn't quite get it right. I think there might have been an incident that we didn't quite see on camera either, but whatever happens, he's now down to P15 in the series. But again, gaps are very close right now, so one race there or the other, you can easily get some spots back in that series.
So then, we've just seen the championship standings after the Manufacturers Series for the Top 16 Superstars here, and we're now with the winner of that race, Mikhail Hazal. Mick, incredible race that. Your strategy and your pace was just phenomenal. How are you feeling after it?
Before I will give my first thoughts of the race I did yesterday, I would like to give my thanks to Baptiste Beauvoir and to Adam Tapai, because those two were the guys I was practicing for the Top 16 Superstars race. So I would like to give my thanks for them first. But yeah, unfortunately, as the Top 16 always starts around midnight, I was so tired, as well as doing the Ramadan month on the same time. So usually I wanted to sleep instead of doing the race, but yeah. But to summarize it, the pace was mega. Even though I was doing a little bit of mistakes and was also caught up in the traffic or so. But yeah, I'm extremely happy with how the race went from the beginning till the end. Yeah.
So I mean, you had Rick Kevlam, I think, was probably your biggest competitor. I mean, did you know before he came out the pit lane that you were going to pass him, or was it just kind of I wonder where he's going to be when he comes out, because it was quite close at the end?
When I was practicing with the other guys I've mentioned before, like with Baptiste and with Adam for the race, we were also trying to see how long it takes for the pit stop if you only would change your tires in the end instead of also refueling on the same time. So we found out that if you would only change your tires, you would only lose about 9 seconds or so. And my gap to Rick on that time was around 6.3 seconds. So I knew that if he wanted to pit in, I would basically basically be ahead of him once he rejoins the track.
So how does it feel if you compare winning at a World Tour event, say, to winning one of the top 16 Superstars events? What are the fundamental differences between the two? I mean, obviously, we can't go and party on a boat after you've won a top 16 Superstars event. I mean, you might do, I don't know, but it's how does it compare?
To be fair, or to be honest, when I was winning the top 16 Superstars race yesterday, after the race, I just wanted to drink and eat something and then just go sleeping. So, which I can't pretty much do it on a Worlds event because there we have the podium ceremony, then the interviews, and then there's also the party going on. And I prefer to basically to just relax, to chill and just sleep afterwards because it was pretty much so late, like after midnight or so. So yeah, instead of basically having the party also, I just wanted to sleep.
Well, Mick, thank you very much indeed for your time. Congratulations on a really, really strong result, and wishing you the best of luck for the future as well.
Yeah, thank you guys. I also wish you guys a happy weekend also, and see you guys on the next time, hopefully.
Well, what an amazing day's worth of action we've had here for the top 16 Superstars for the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. Jimmy, quickly, who's your driver of the day?
Why do you do this to me, man? You know what? I know we've had a chat of him, but I'm going to give it to Beauvoir. He was good over both races. Double podium, which I think is very impressive, especially when you have such different machinery. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to look past him.
Yeah, I'm going for Rick Kevlam, to be honest with you. I think his strategy in that last race was really, really strong. Mick Hazal just had that little bit of pace. We're used to seeing him up the front. Great to see Rick consistently being there in the top 16 Superstars races.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big improvement from what we've seen over the last couple of years. So if he can keep that up, he'll be challenging the likes of Mick and Eagle very soon.
Well, we'll be back for the top 16 Superstars on the 31st of May for round 10 of the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships, and it really should be starting to take place in the standings then, so it could be all to play for as to who is going to end up at the top of the table. Don't forget, of course, here on Monday night on the Gran Turismo TV YouTube channel, we've got action from North America and on the Oceania region as well. Be sure to tune in for that. Anyway, all that remains for me to say is from Jimmy Broadbent and from myself, Tom Brooks, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.